Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inspired Messenger Show. I am your host, Mark Porteous, and this series is designed to inspire, educate, and motivate you to recognize and share your own unique gifts with the world. I feel so blessed to have such amazing mentors and teachers in my life who are aligned with my mission to empower inspired messengers with the tools and support they need to thrive in their purpose. And it's really such a huge honor for me to introduce my mentors and colleagues to you, which is a lot of what we'll be talking about today on the show. I really believe that everyone has a special message, including you. And if you're inspired to share your message professionally as an author, speaker, mentor, coach, or healer, we're here to support you. And that's why the Inspired Messengers Network was created. We're a collaborative community of visionary thought leaders and change agents working together to improve lives. That's simple. So be sure to sign up for your free membership at theinspiredmentorsnetwork.com to access valuable resources to help you with your mission. And please like us on Facebook at facebook.com/inspired messengers. Again, I really believe that your story and your personal experiences hold powerful lessons that can help others while providing you a fantastic lifestyle of freedom, joy, and abundance. Every life that you touch creates a ripple effect that reaches out farther than you can imagine. The more people you reach, the more ripples of positive change that you can create. So how can you reach more people with your message? Today, we're going to learn how to build credible influence, impact, and income with heart and smarts without being a shark. We're going to get really into what all of that stuff means, and I'm really excited to get started. My guest, Nancy Juetten, is the Get Known to Get Paid mentor who got introduced to joint venture partnerships in 2006 by accident. Today, some of the biggest names in internet marketing and business coaching, such as Christian Michelson, Christine Closer, Bill Barron, and Colin Rush, call her by name and sing her praises and proudly advocate her products, programs, and services to their tribes as she returns the same, or something better for them. You'll see that she's just always out for something better. And you'll see how incredibly giving she is as well. But this one single strategy of JV marketing has added more star power to her brand and reputation and accelerated her impact, influence, and income than any other. But hello, Nancy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Mark. It's so great to be here. Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you. Again, I just feel like every conversation that we have enriches my life, and I'm really excited to be able to share some of your wisdom and experience with our viewers.
Me too. Let's on with the show.
I love that you started off in the green room by saying that you giving high value today in this show was the most important thing on your agenda today. I'm really excited about that.
I believe everyone should be seen, heard, and celebrated and made to feel important. And the opportunity that you're providing to me to share this message with your Inspired Messengers Network is important to me. And I want to do my best for you and all your listeners. I want to add massive value. I want there to be eye-opening education. I want you to have a head whip reaction that something I said actually opens your eyes to a whole new way you can be in the world that can pay off again and again.
Well, I love that because, again, we talk about heart and smarts, and you're a very smart woman, and everybody's going to see how heart-centered you are by how giving you are. So we have a lot of information that you want to share. I want to get right into that. A lot of our viewers have seen you promoted by many of the industry leaders that I mentioned in your intro. And for those of us who've gotten to know you personally, like I said, you're not only an incredible mentor and champion of emerging visionaries, but you have so much heart and soul. I'm curious to hear a little bit about how you said you accidentally learned about joint venture marketing. How did that start for you?
Well, remember the Great Recession of 2008?
I think we all do.
Yeah, that was a really dark time for a lot of people, and me included. Right about that time, I was running a public relations agency, and have always been good at standing behind powerful people and making them look big in the media. And I was like the Wizard of Oz, helping people to be stars on the, USA Today and Oprah and things like that. But when the Great Recession happened, it seemed that getting press wasn't an urgent problem for clients anymore. Many of them were holding on for dear life to save themselves. So it seemed like, with no fault of my own, my business sort of fell apart very, very quickly during the Great Recession. And so every afternoon I do what I call the death march to the mailbox, because I knew that there were going to be bills waiting to be paid, and I was going to be scrambling to figure out how to pay them. And we had 2 houses, a young son, a dog, a husband, a lot of responsibility. So it was a very dark time. So this one afternoon, I go marching down to the mailbox, and I find there's a check in the mailbox instead of a bill. And I open it up, and it's for $2,000. $2,000. And I could just feel like my heart beating out of my chest. I go, I have no idea what this is. And I could feel like I was shaking. And I walk into the house and I showed it to my husband and I said, I have no idea what this is. He says, I don't know how you did it, but can you do it again?
Right.
So as it turned out, I called the person's name who was on the check, and it turned out that someone in my tribe had invested a $10,000 tuition to be part of a publicity mastermind, and my reward was a $2,000 partner commission. And when I called, they said, we're so happy to receive your referral, and for every person you send us for the rest of your life, we'll happily return the same reward. You could have knocked me over with a feather. I had no idea that this even existed. So that was the first accident. The second accident was I went to the local Bellevue Chamber of Commerce breakfast to network, just like we all do. And I'm sitting at a table with all these colleagues that I hadn't seen in a while, and I was pretty well known as a publicist. And so it turned out that some of my friends, had gone on to other endeavors, and one of them called me as a result of seeing me at breakfast and said, we have this very huge opportunity to launch this telecommunications company. We would like your PR firm to handle it. And as I dug in to find out the scope of work, it was way too big for my firm to take on. So in the spirit of service, I called him back and I said, this is way too big of a scope of work. May I make a quality referral to an agency that has deeper bench strength, because I think that's in the best interest of your success. So I brokered this meeting, and I didn't think anything of it. I was just trying to be of service. So 30 days later, I go to the mailbox and there's a check in the mail for $800. I have no idea what it's for. I call the guy on the other side of the check. I said, what is this? I have no idea what this is. He said, remember that referral that you made? Well, that's an $8,000 a month retainer, and we will send you $800 for the rest of your life for as long as they are our client. And I'm going, really? Oh my God, I had no idea. And so, 2 accidents one right after the other that were sizable in my view, my humble view at that time. I thought, you know what? If I can refer people to the right resource and they get what they want, and there's a reward attached to me for having made that connection, and I did that accidentally, what would happen if I made this a serious study in mastery so that I could serve people powerfully, help them get what they want, and also profit? And so that is really how accidentally I got introduced to joint ventures. And I'm so glad that I did, because credibility has always been my secret sauce. That's my stock in trade. If Nancy says it's good, it must be good. And it's always from that place of service. So, here I am today with a multiple 6-figure business, and a good 5 figures or more every year comes in my mailbox. Quite welcome, I might add. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, that's fantastic. And that's where you are now. You talked about 2008 being a very difficult time, and I think everybody can relate to that, even people who may have been able to weather the storm. But you're talking about an $800 check and a $2,000 check. That didn't pay your bills every month.
No, but it was very helpful.
It's a great start. And I think most people right now, to be getting that check right now, would be a huge difference in their business.
Right. Well, so here's what happened. The PR firm kind of fell apart in a weekend, and it wasn't any fault of mine. And so I'm sitting there thinking, how do I borrow from Peter to pay Paul to make the mortgage? And a friend of mine said, I dare you to write a book about how to, you're so good at publicity, you're so good at writing, you're so good at helping people sound awesome. I dare you to write a book about that. And I thought, What else do I have to do? So in 3 weeks, I wrote a book and I titled it Bye Bye Boring Bio, The Ultimate Action Guide to Get Seen, Heard, and Celebrated for Your Expert Status. I went to Kinko's and had it spiral bound. And I went to a little workshop where I was teaching people about do-it-yourself publicity. And at the end of the workshop, I said, hey, I've created this book to help people describe what they do and how they do it and why it matters so they can attract better clients now. Is anyone interested in this? And every single person in the room said yes. And I said, okay, I have a very special offer for you. I'm going to gift it to you with one requirement. All I ask is that within the next 10 days, you will send me in writing your comments or your testimonials about what this book is doing for you. Oh, dear. And I'll give you the book in exchange for your favorable comments. So the book, I give it away, and everybody sends me these amazing comments without even having to be prompted. And they said, this is exactly what we need right now. This is more valuable than anything you delivered in the workshop. I want to tell this for all my friends. So bottom line is, I didn't know anything about internet marketing. I didn't know about e-zine lists. I didn't know about autoresponders. I didn't know about all this stuff that is the currency that we seem to be dealing with today. But I wrote an e-zine, an electronic newsletter to my, I think I had 1,000 people on my list. And I said, are you struggling to attract clients right now and need to make money right away? And are you finding that your resume isn't working for you and you need a different way to show up in the world? If that's the case, go ahead and get Bye Bye Boring Bio. It's going to help you get that problem solved so you can get on with it as soon as possible. I think that was all I said. And then I went and walked the dog. And then when I came back, it was like, you have an order, you have an order, you have an order, you have an order. And I would say to you that at the very moment that I needed to bring home the bacon, Bye Bye Boring Bio saved my behind. And that created a bridge. I became known as the go-to expert in my niche for helping to turn boring bios into client-attracting magnets. And I had something to offer to other leaders of other tribes who were helping people to get clients but didn't have an expertise in this area. So I could offer some value without competing, and everyone would be made better. So that became the thing that I was able to bring to people of influence. I have this Bye Bye Boring Bio expertise, and I could be an excellent speaker or someone who could help your people get to clarity on their message. And they'd say, great, come on in and talk about it. And then as I learned to talk about it with them, I find out what they're up to, and then I'd lend support to what they had brewing, and all of a sudden I had this growing community of champions and advocates and people who felt good about me as I felt good about them. It was just accidental. Someone wrote me, dared me to write a book, and I did it.
I love it. I love that you took advantage of that opportunity. And again, it wasn't something that you were setting out to have a certain outcome. You just went and did it. And that's what I first knew you for, was the whole idea about your ability to help really make a very powerful bio. And when I first met you at the networking event, I just kept wanting to come up to you, and your booth was always so busy, and I was doing a lot of laser coaching at the time, so we never got to connect. But I really wanted to learn more about the bio and how, and I know this is such an important thing. And but then I found out that now you're doing this thing about building relationships and joint ventures. What happened next to transition from Bye Bye Bio into now you're teaching people how to create healthy joint ventures?
Well, interesting question. And I want to say one more thing about the Bye Bye Boring Bio.
Okay.
You know, it's sort of an accidental thing that I created a product that my audience needed and wanted and was prepared to spend money to actually get. It was a really wonderful recipe. So there are many people that have products that they're inspired to create for a certain audience of people, but sometimes they don't really figure out whether or not that audience actually wants to part with money to get that solution. And if you don't figure that part out right out of the gate, you have a very expensive hobby. And so what I learned from my Bye Bye Boring Bio book experience is that I was really solving an urgent problem that people wanted to spend money to solve, and they were happy to invest, and it wasn't anything difficult to sell at all. And so anyone out here who's listening, it's really a challenge to create products, programs, and services that people want and need and are also ready to buy. So if you have products that are not yet done, proven, or perfect, it may take a while to get that figured out. So in the meantime, you can actually start promoting the products of the luminaries that you admire, buy from, and think highly of. And when your tribe buys those products at your referral, you can make money doing that in the meantime. You can build a bridge to reliable revenue by doing that. And that is what I did. Because Bye Bye Boring Bio was an entry-level product. It's really hard to make a really big living with a $97 product. Most of us need to have higher value offerings that will allow people to have a bigger or bolder transformation. It took a little while for me to figure that out. But over the last 7 years, I have been advancing along the path to JV mastery and have been a top 10 leaderboard contributor consistently and have big names calling my name. And I think I have systems and processes that are proven and easily duplicated by serious action takers who want to follow the yellow brick road to those riches. And so that's sort of how I built that bridge. This is my high value, urgent offering that helps people build that reliable, lucrative bridge now. It's bigger than the bio. And so I think we all have something bigger than our entry-level product to offer. And this is how I want to serve and how I think it can make a huge difference.
And I really love that because I think that is one of the big challenges for a lot of people. We can talk about marketing and everything else, but if you don't have something to market, it doesn't really help. And understanding what people will gladly pay for can be a big challenge, especially when you're just getting started. Something like you need more clients. We all need more clients. So that was a real easy sell for you, especially when people are desperate for clients at the time. But in that process, then you evolved. And now you have an even bigger offering with this joint venture marketing.
Well, I really feel that sometimes we have our eye on ourselves. You know, how can I make my product sell? How can I make my business go? How can I make my way in the world? And being self-focused has value. But when you are speaking to people of serious influence who have the bandwidth to reach a whole lot of people, if you put others first, it's amazing how your own game will change. I know it seems totally counterintuitive, but there was another situation, another accident, if you will. I had this Get Known to Get Paid publicity toolkit that was very, very good, and people were buying it. And someone from Christine Closer's community reached out to me from their JV department and said she has this transformational author experience where she invites people to enter their manuscripts to win prizes, publishing contracts, and things like that. We'd love to offer your publicity toolkit as one of the prizes. Would you be willing to do that? Well, I didn't know anything about joint ventures at the time, but you know what I did know? I knew that authors are a huge audience of potential people who need bios to open doors to big speaking, media opportunities, all kinds of things. And so I knew enough to be slightly dangerous. And I said, I would be honored to gift as many of these as you feel would serve your contest. And then I'd like to go one better. Would it support you for me to promote this event to my tribe? And they didn't know me from anybody. And I said, why don't you send me some marketing copy that I can customize for my community, and we'll see if we can get more of my people in your world. They didn't know me from anybody. It was like I was some anonymous nobody that knocked on their door and just offered to be of service. But here's where it got really good. She had 75 joint venture partners that were all supporting this event. And on the day that I mailed, Christine Closer, who I'd never met before, actually reached out to me by email and said, I'm just wondering if we're having a glitch in the system. Did you happen to email for us today? I said, yes, I emailed at 10:05. How's it going so far? She says, I can't believe how many opt-ins are flowing to our inbox because of you. And I said, well, that makes me so happy. You know, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to do it really well. I said, well, I've got a couple more mailings planned. Let's see how well I do. And she says, I'm really glad to meet you. This is all happening by email. So here's the thing. Here's why it was so great. Is anybody that's ever doing a launch is like very busy. You don't want to make any asks when someone's in a launch. But when the launch is over, there's your great opportunity. So I had this great book, Bye Bye Boring Bio, and I wrapped it up in ribbons and bows, and I put a personal note in a box, and I shipped it to her. And I said, congratulations on a great transformational author experience. Thank you for inviting me to play. When the dust is settled and you have a few extra moments, won't you please read this book and see perhaps if it might serve your community and if there might be ways for us to play together in the future. Yours very truly. And I just thought, what the heck? Why not ask? Why not ask? And so a few weeks later, she emails me and said, I went to bed with your book and I stayed up half the night. I've written my bio. Will you take a look at it? Well, people pay me to do that. Of course they do. But when a person of influence says, will you take a look at my bio and make it better? This person said, I'd be delighted. And I made it better for her. And she said, this is awesome. Will you please be a speaker next year for the international conference? And that year, in the span of a 1-hour interview, I invited 800 new subscribers to my own list. And by the following Monday, there were $15,000 of orders for my $97 product. Accidental. You know, the universe was knocking on my door. Will you give away something for free in exchange for the opportunity to be seen in this way? Yes, but I go it one better. How else can I support your success? So to put a ribbon and a bow on it, I've been a speaker for the Transformational Author Experience 3 or 4 years in a row. And every year my following grows, every year her following grows, and we all make more money, we serve more people, and it feels really good. So this is not, this isn't enough money to buy a cup of coffee or a pizza or a dinner for your family. This is thousands of dollars that happen because of perfectly aligned relationships.
What an incredible story. There's there are different times I just, these waves of chills coming over me. First of all, I absolutely love Christine. She's become a friend of mine, and I can see how, just the last words they said, aligned relationships, I can just see how perfectly aligned both of you are. But the other thing that you said is about putting other people first. So many people are givers, but we can neglect ourselves. You don't do that. You put other people first. You take care of yourself and fill your needs. But the idea about helping other people and seeing how you can serve them and doing one more, I just love that. There's so much meat there that you just gave us. Thank you.
Well, you know, how you do anything is how you do everything. And another little ninja tip for the aspiring joint venture partners out there: when you reach out to someone of influence and say that you've seen, heard, and purchased their work and know that it's outstanding and that you have some influence that you'd like to deploy in service to their success, they are very receptive to that and flattered by it, especially if it comes from a place of truth. And when you go forth and actually advocate in the way that you said that you would, and they can feel it on the other side, they notice that. And they appreciate that. And then very organically, the conversation tends to shift up to, well, that was awfully generous of you, and thank you for doing that in such a winning way. What are you up to, and how might I support you? And when someone makes that approach back to you, you can have some ideas in your hip pocket to say, well, I do have a couple of ideas that I think would really work well in service to our tribes. May I offer a couple of suggestions? And then if you've thought about it and presented it in a nice way, chances are someone's going to say, I'm happy to support you because look what you've already done for me. In a similar manner, sometimes you do nice things for other people and they're not nice about it, or they don't appreciate it, or they don't acknowledge you properly, or you get a weird feeling that maybe that wasn't such a good thing after all. There have been occasions where people have said, what more can I do for you? And I said, I wish you all the best. I think we're complete. Because if somebody's revealed something about the way they show up that doesn't feel like a match for me, I've learned enough. It's like what Maya Angelou said, when people reveal themselves, you should pay attention. So, I want to be choosy. I want to be with leaders, and I want to be with leaders that have values that are aligned with mine, and one without the other just isn't good enough.
Well, I love that, that attention to people and how they make you feel. Even that's another thing that from Maya Angelou. You'll forget what people say and forget what they do, but you'll always remember how to make you feel. But really paying attention to how people show up. I don't know how I think that's just part of a natural part of you, is being able to see that. And I think people intuitively will pick up that vibe. Is there something for you that stands out to where you just feel like, oh, this is an aligned relationship? How do you know when something is just right for you?
Well, it's so funny you should ask me that question. Steve Harvey wrote a book, and it was called Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, and it's dating advice. And one of the things that he said is that for a man to consider a woman suitable to be his life partner, he needs to get to that place where he professes his love for that person. He wants to provide for that person, and profess your love, provide for them, and I can't remember the other P. It's probably pretty colorful. I can't remember. But he's not going to take just anybody home to mom, right?
Mm.
So I remember reading that book and feeling the same way. Is like, if I have a tribe of people that I have nurtured and attracted over time, I want to bring people and offers and invitations to my community that feel like they're truly a fit. So, for example, if she wears a bikini and I wear a suit, we're probably not a match. If she swears from the stage and I speak very articulately, we're probably not a match. If they never pay their partners on time and I'm Johnny on the spot with my checkbook, we're probably not a match. So it's a little bit like what you learned in kindergarten. I mean, if people show up the way they are, if you're going to have cocktails with them, if you're going to go home with them, whether or not you want to see them when you fly into town. So for me, and do I like these people? Do they have something to offer that's of service to my community? Do I feel like we are a match in the way that we navigate the world? And if we are, awesome sauce. And if we're not, that's okay, because I'm not everybody's glass of tea either. But at least I'm journeying forward with people where I feel like we've got our best interests at heart, and it feels really good, and there's no ick factor. No transactions, long-term relationships.
And we can see that, especially with somebody like Christine. I just again feel that strong alignment. How did you see that was a win-win-win for yourself when that was happening?
Oh gosh, well, I knew who she was, because this is another ninja tip. You have something to offer to the world. So you want to identify leaders of tribes that have a need for that thing. So I'll just use an example. Like, I help people write a better bio. Who needs that? Well, authors need that, and workshop leaders need that. And those just be two examples. So then what you do is you aim high as a service provider, and you go to Google and you look up who's the leader, who's helping tribes of people get their books done. And you choose the top 5 people that are helping people get their books done, and you look at their websites, and you check out what they say on telesummits, and you do your homework, and you do your due diligence, and you know how people show up because you're paying attention. That's sort of my value. I will see, hear, and celebrate you first, and I will know that you are good people. And if I feel it's a match, I'll make an approach. If it's not a match, run, Forrest, run. So. And I learned this from my work as a journalist and as a publicist. You don't just write out to the TV station and say, you should cover my book and have me on your show. You say, I know your program is all about showcasing local authors who are making a difference, and I am a local author who's making a difference, and I have a particular angle that I think your listeners would really enjoy. Can we have a chat? You should be able to demonstrate very quickly that you've been paying attention, so that you know that there's a fit. Because they're too busy to really have done the homework, but that's where you being someone that does the homework can be a superstar a lot faster, because that's been my secret sauce. Seeing people before I make an approach. I knew we were a match. She's got a wonderful energy. She's got great spirit. She has an author tribe that needs what I have. And it's just that simple. It's not hard.
And you also mentioned something when you were working with Christine, before you even started working with her, when you were supporting her, that was a joint venture. But a lot of people may not even understand what a joint venture is. So I'll ask you what you define, how you define a joint venture, because it's not just about promotion. Like, you actually added value to her event. That alone is a unique kind of approach to it. So how do you define joint venture?
Well, to my way of thinking, it's a strategic alliance in which everyone welcomes leverage to distribute their marketing message in a bigger, bolder way. And typically there's either exchange of leads or a reward for sales referred, or perhaps people are putting their various products together in a particular bundle so that they can be better together than they were by themselves. I think that the great thing about a joint venture is that so many people today are beating the drum by themselves. And we are living in an age of collaboration where competitors are actually linking arms and journeying forward together to make a bigger impact with more of their collective audiences. The freedom lifestyle requires that we find creative ways to get our message out to more of the right people, and beating the drum by yourself is a very long path to get there. So when you can find people that have a tribe that's right for your offering, where you are a fit, and together you're better than you were alone, I think you've got the right juice there to create a partnership that can be lasting. And why are joint ventures valuable? You know, cold calling. I heard a woman, I can't remember her name, but she said, cold calling is best left in the freezer.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes to smile and dial to a cold audience.
Mm-hmm.
But if I say to my tribe that Christine Closer has been leading the Transformational Author Experience for 5 years, and she's helped transform the lives of thousands and thousands of authors to get their message out into the world. I know her personally, and I'm happy to introduce her to my community because she has something very special to offer. I have warmly introduced her, I've edified her, and my tribe already has trust for me, and they will be more open to hearing from Christine because of a warm introduction. Who among us doesn't need more warm introductions to more of the right people? So joining forces and linking arms with the right people that are a fit, it's just good business. And the best collaborations often happen because of your competitors right under your nose, and you have something to offer that she didn't. And I can't tell you how many examples from the trenches I have to tell you about how that's worked out for me. Really.
That's huge for me, because I believe that one of the new paradigms in marketing is that collaboration beats competition every time. And you even showed that in one of your first examples with your marketing agency and saying, you know, let me give this to somebody else, because you could have tried to step into those big shoes. It might have pushed you a little, but you knew that it was better for you and better for everyone. That was a win-win-win situation. Well, you didn't even know that you were going to gain out of it.
Well, so since we're talking about that, Joan Stewart is known as the publicity hound, and I have been following her work for years. I have such reverence for her expertise. I thought she just totally had the whole thing nailed as far as publicity. I read every product, I listened to every newsletter, I paid attention because I was a publicist too. And when I decided to create my publicity tips booklets that offer 147 powerful ways to boost business and profit from free publicity, I created a resource list in the back of recommended resources that could help people deepen their learning about how to do PR themselves. I didn't know anything about affiliates at this time. This was back in 2006. So here's what I did. This is such a great story. I got these gorgeous tips booklets. I think I have them around here somewhere. Anyway, I put them in an envelope with a personal note. Dear Joan, I've been on your newsletter list forever. You've been such an inspiration to me. I've been a good customer for quite a long time. I created these tips booklets and wanted you to know that I recommended you in the back of the booklet. I hope you like that. It's a pleasure to get to chat with you, even on paper, you know, all the best. I never, ever thought I would hear from her. And I was kind of afraid of her, to be honest with you. So about a week later, I get this phone call, and she has a very distinctive voice. And she says, "I want to speak to Nancy Juetten." And I'm just like, I could feel like my body like responding. And I said, "This is she." And she says, "Damn good booklets. Wished I'd written them myself. Do you have an affiliate program?" And I honestly said, "Oh dear, I don't know what's an affiliate program." I didn't know.
Wow.
And she said, "Okay, do you have a shopping cart?" And I said, "Yes." And she says, "Do you have a webmaster?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Tell your webmaster to activate the commissions for your product and tell me what my link is and I'll promote you." An accident, another accident. So I call my guy, we decide 30% commission. I write back to Joan. I said, "I would be so honored if you would be my first affiliate." And a couple weeks later, she sends out her newsletter to, at the time, maybe 20,000 subscribers who were all interested in publicity. And she says, essentially, "Damn good booklets. I wish I'd written them myself. Go get yours." And all of a sudden, she just put me on the map. You have an order, you have an order, you have an order. And so today, all these many years later, we are friends, we are colleagues. I've never forgotten that she lifted it up. She lifted me up as I was climbing. She lifted me up as I was climbing. I've never forgotten it. I'm so grateful. And I've had so many people see the quality in me and give me that lift up as I was climbing that I just feel that that's a really nice way to show up in the world and to give back as well.
That's one of my favorite quotes or sayings is lift as you climb. And you are a perfect example of that. I see your emails and how you promote and champion. I love that word. You champion people that you believe in, even if they aren't in that position of influence yet, because you know that they're offering quality content for your audience.
Well, it feels really good. It feels really good. And, truthfully, there's many people that I champion and I also profit because I am a joint venture partner and there's a very specific joint venture arrangement in place where when I refer sales, I make money. But sometimes over a period of time, someone will show up as just true quality. And you know that they deserve a lift up. And you know what? If I can do it and it feels good to me, at the end of the day, life is about the relationships that you have with people. I feel really rich in my relationships with people. I have people that would open their door to me to keep me overnight, buy me a cup of coffee, maybe a bottle of champagne. It feels really real to me. And I think that, people's health is challenging. Bad things happen. At the end of the day, nobody's going to be talking about how many zeros were in my income, but they're going to remember how I helped them, how I served them, and how I made them feel. And I feel rich beyond measure because of that.
That's so beautiful. I know that one of the things that you're going to do is we're going to share some of your tips on how people can get started with joint venturing. Tell us a little bit before we get into the tips of how this whole joint venturing has changed, because you've told us how you got started in it. Well, what's happened now since you've discovered the power of joint venturing?
Well, there was another little aha moment. We were bantering before this went live about how the list size seems to be such a really important piece of currency. And I'm just here to tell you that long before I had a really big list, when I had as many as 1,000 people in my world, I was able to use my credibility and my influence for good and profit. So if you have as many as 1,000 people in your world who believe in you, trust you, and believe what you tell them, you can actually do exactly what I've done. You can absolutely do what I've done. But I had a situation where, sometimes you keep putting your nose against the glass, trying to get invited to a big table, and for whatever reason, the door always feels like it's closed. Well, I had this truth teller in my life, and she said, and these were her words exactly, "I love you, I love your work, but until you have 10,000 people in your email system, I will not promote you." And it was like it just landed squarely that day. And I thought, damn, what's it gonna take? What's it gonna take for me to grow my list? And so I took a measure of what my list was at that moment, and I said, how quickly can I get there? Because I was tired of sitting at the little kids' table at Thanksgiving. I wanted at least to get an invitation to sit down. So I don't know, lightning speed. I did PJ Van Huel's Listapalooza several times. I've done every list building event you can count on. I've given a lot of speeches that I said, all I want from you today is agreement for you to be on my list so we can stay in relationship. I mean, I've done everything from the big to the small. But you know what? I got invited to the big table. And I didn't go to the big table with the idea that I was going to ask people to promote me, because frankly, my products weren't done, proven, or perfect. And I didn't feel that that was going to be the way to get very far, very fast. But I knew that if I was sitting at the table with these people who had huge influence and I supported them first, that I would have champions waiting in the outfield to support me when I was ready. And I'll never forget a couple of years ago in San Diego at Christian Michelson's JV Summit, which is by invitation only. Everybody gets a 2-minute pitch to say, this is what I'm promoting, this is who it's for, this is your commission, this is how we're going to change the world together. Won't you please play with me, right? And they all start to sound the same. And so when I got my 2 minutes, I didn't do that. I started with a question. I said, who in this illustrious room has been seen, heard, celebrated, and championed by me and felt the impact in your balance sheet? And the whole room roared. And I said, well, it's been my pleasure to support you. And I am here today to tell you that I have something that I would like your support with. And I have a sign-up sheet. And all I'm asking is to choose one of these 2 ways that you can support me. Who's in? And I got a standing ovation. And it was like, oh my God. So if you think that it's a long distance run to build those kind of relationships and get that kind of support. But I don't regret a single step of it, because I have people whose names that you would know, who will take my phone calls, who will support me, who know the quality that resides within, who will follow the yellow brick road wherever I suggest they take it, and will do kindnesses back to me because it's deserved, and because they will make money, and because their influence will grow, and all of these good things. There's all kinds of currency. But I don't regret a moment the steps that I've taken, because I feel it's been a long distance run with real relationships in a sustainable way to grow my business. And what does it mean to me? 5 figures every year in the mailbox. And I'm always elevating my products, programs, and services. And even before they're done or perfect, I can be an awesome JV partner and be very reliable. And I'll make this really clear. Let's just say you want $2,000 in your mailbox next month. Well, chances are someone who you've already bought products, services, or programs from has a $2,000 product that they're going to be launching soon. And when you refer someone to buy it, chances are you will get $1,000 for every sale. You could make that money back so quickly if you just make a strategic decision and make an ask to support someone. That's what I have done, and it pays off. It absolutely pays off again and again and again.
And again, I know that you've taken a lot of steps, and you're going to share some of these steps with us. I also kind of wanted to mention the bonus gift, and right below this video, you can just click the button, or if you're listening to the audio replay, you can go to inspiredmessengersnetwork.com/JV, and you'll be able to get that gift. I imagine that tell us a little bit about the gift before you go into the 6 steps.
Okay. The gift is called the Avoid JV Mistakes Toolkit, because what I know to be true is a lot of you want to have big players beating the drum for you, but if you make your approach in the wrong way, they're going to run in the opposite direction. So when you download the JV Mistakes Toolkit, you will get to watch an audio. It's actually a video where I'm explaining the 3 biggest blunders even smart entrepreneurs make that have their joint venture partners running in the opposite direction, and how to turn that around to your favor instead. You'll really want to watch that video, because the woman who comes on at the end, the comment she makes is, she says, Nancy, you're the bomb. That was worth every minute and more. Everything in a bag of chips besides. I mean, I lay it all out there. So there's a video for you to watch, and 2 powerful, useful gifts that are nothing but quality. One of them helps you to get known and paid for your expert status through the power of publicity. And the other is the 12 biggest reasons joint venture partners will never promote you, created by Rich German and Milana Lashinsky. So this is like 3 gifts in one. It's a $497 value, and it's my gift to you so that you can get on the path to becoming an awesome JV partner right out of the gate like a winner.
Awesome. Fantastic. So yes, I want everybody to go ahead and download that gift. And then if you don't mind, I don't know how much time we have just to go into depth on each of the 6 steps, but maybe you can kind of go through them and then.
I'll be brief.
Okay.
I'll be brief.
All right. So everybody, hopefully you got your pen and paper out and we're ready to take more notes. Because you told us a lot already. But
oh, thank you. So, when I was talking about, what could I be good at? As a publicist, I've always been good at identifying, being a champion for other people. That is like something that just flows out of me like music. What are you really good at? Figure out what you're really good at so that you can find a way to be of contribution in that particular way. Then I want you to listen very carefully to the problems, aches and pains that your clients are complaining about. Not enough clients, not enough sleep, not enough sex, not enough whatever. Listen very carefully to the problems that your clients are describing are theirs. If you are not the direct solution provider for that problem, find the top 3 solution providers in the world who are. Because those people can be people to whom you refer business in exchange for joint venture commission. Number 3, who are the top 8 solution providers in your industry that you can make the decision to be 1 degree of separation between for a lifetime? Start with 8 points of light and then grow every year so you have a Rubik's Cube of wonderful relationships. I did that, and it was like, some people say 100 points of light, no trouble. I'm introverted. I can't hold that much information. But 8 amazing relationships, I can do that. In terms of how to find your 8 points of light, consider what people are buying before and after they buy with you. Those are perfect joint venture partners. I want you to go to business events where business owners invest to be in the room, because those folks are likely to do business. If you go to the free events, if you graze at the free bar, sometimes you go home hungry. Especially, notice who's on stage at the big events that you go to, and see if you can get to know them and have them become jewels in the crown in your own royalty of people that you know, like, and trust. Pay attention to the people you're interested in and let them know that you're paying attention so that they will see you too. If it's all about you, sometimes it doesn't go anywhere. Make friends with your best competitors, and also make sure that you create good marriages at the start, because joint venturing sometimes has roller coaster ups and downs, and you want to have some grace with the people you play with and be able to apologize if things don't go well, or get some grace if things, not everything is always a winner, Mm-hmm. So the 5th step is to get ready now as if opportunity was knocking tomorrow. Because as I've spoken to you already, most of these things that had crossed my path accidentally happened. I wasn't ready for them. I didn't even know the opportunity had knocked. But now I realize that the universe is whispering to me all of the time, these checks that were showing up in the mail were whispering to me, you have powerful, credible influence. How are you going to use it for good and profit? So listen, what if Oprah called you tomorrow? Would you be ready? What if that TELUS summit that was looking for speakers asked you to be a part of it tomorrow? Would you be ready? Because when you are ready and can respond, but by the time the phone hits the cradle with everything that joint venture partner asked for, they are whistling a happy tune that they called on you, as opposed to having to bird dog you to submit everything that you were supposed to submit 3 days ago while they're scrambling and not being able to sleep. How you do everything is how you do everything. And then finally, this can't be underestimated. Please take today as an opportunity to grow your influence as much as you can in a measurable way by the size of your list. Even though it's not your favorite thing to talk about, it's valuable currency that will open big doors. And once you get to maybe 1,000 is great, 5,000 is awesome, and anything better than that is like whistling Dixie. So everything counts, have 5,000 people on your list and imagine how many more doors will open, because some people just always want to talk about that stuff, and you got to be ready to talk about it and have something to offer up. These are the things that I have done. to go from zero to hero as a JV partner and to create that reliable bridge of revenue before my products were done or perfect. And if you want to learn how to do that, I am the heartfelt, lovely person who can show you the way.
I love that. And you certainly are. I'm really excited to be in your tribe and to learn from you. As you were talking, there's a couple things that came up for me, and I would imagine that other people are probably feeling the same way. One thing you're talking about, the list of starting off with 1,000. I know that's the first benchmark. 5,000 is the next one, and doubles from there. But if you don't have 1,000 people, how do you build that influence when you have maybe 100 people or 200 people on your list, or when you're starting with a list and you have a whole bunch of people on your Facebook, whatever that is? How did you build the influence in the first place? You were a marketer. Like I just see myself constantly comparing myself to you, and it's like, oh yeah, but she had this, and she was she had that already started with 1,000 people.
So let me just tell you this. This. I mean, we're all mere mortals here. We're all mere mortals here. When I first got started, someone asked me how many people were on my list, and I said, I don't know. And he said, well, why don't you find out? And maybe technology is not my favorite thing, and I don't even know how to figure that out. So Constant Contact was what I was using at the time, and it turned out I had 185 people on my list when I started. Very humble beginning. And most of them were friends and family, most of whom had absolutely no idea or desire to buy anything from me ever. 185 names. Maybe a year later, after doing a lot of speeches at the Rotary and the Chamber of Commerce and the eWomen Network and the local entrepreneurship organization, every time there's 100 people in the room listening to me give a talk, I'm going to do a raffle and I'm going to give away one of my books in exchange for someone's willing opportunity to join me as part of my community. And if they don't wish to give me their email address, they can just cross their email address off the card before they enter the contest. But if you do 10 speeches this coming year with 100 people in the audience and you wow them, that's 1,000 people right there. So get out and speak. And if it's not on a stage, maybe it's on a Google Hangout, maybe it's on a teleclass or a webinar, but do 10 talks, get 100 people at each talk, and speak on someone else's stage and give away a prize. But I did a lot of that. And I do sponsorships at live events, and I do, enter to win. I'm relentless in pursuit of the desire to serve people in a deeper way. And if the list is the door opener, then I better have a list so doors can open. Because sometimes you just got to play by the rules that are set. And that seems to be one that has opened a lot of big doors for me. But I just want you to know it started with 1,000 people. 1,000. Go give 10 talks, you'll be done. You'll be on with it. And if you've done a great job with the talks, the people love you and they're going to want to hear from you. And if you're going to make a recommendation, they just might take action on your recommendation, in which case you just might have served them well, served your partner well, and welcomed some money in your mailbox.
Beautiful. And you said something really important too, because you started with 135 and they were
185.
That was your circle of influence. Those are the people that and again, they may not have been really related to the topic, but that's something I recommend everybody do. At least starting your own, whether it's Constant Contact. If you have questions about that.
I want to show you something. I don't know if you can see this, but this is my daily priority planner. And at the bottom of it, it says list activity. And I keep track of my list growth and my list retraction every single day. I look at that every single day. And if someone says, how big is your list today? I'm able to tell them. And how much has it grown in the last 30 days? I'm able to tell them. Because what you measure gets treasured. And every single person who's ever joined my list is someone who liked what they heard enough to want to hear more. So deliver value every time you send a newsletter. Give people something they weren't expecting. Let them know that you see them, you hear them, you celebrate them, you champion them. Do something unexpected. I got an email the other day after the email that went out about this interview that said that was the best interview, the best email I got all week. It made me smile the rest of the day. I mean, if you can make people wink and grin and be happy that they're in relationship with you, at one point or another, when the timing is right, they'll be doing business with you too and referring you to all of their friends. And that would be my wish for everyone who's listening. And if opening the door to joint ventures is something that you feel that is exciting to you, I can't wait to show you the way. And you'll love it. It'll be fun. And you can do it with heart and smarts without being a shark, because I'm a dolphin. I'm a dolphin. I'm a friendly dolphin, but I'm smart, and that pays off, quite a lot of ways.
It does. And now, I think that's the other part of the question is not just about the list size, but the influence. Like, how do you have somebody that follows your suggestion? And I feel like as I was thinking that I'm feeling you're already answering the questions. One is you're giving lots of great value. You're letting them feel heard. But for me, the biggest thing is that you're completely authentic, so that you're going to attract those people too, and people know authenticity when they see it. And that, I think, is the biggest thing. Is there anything else you think that your attributes that help you to be so influential when somebody listens to your recommendation?
That's such a big question, and I'll say something. It has been a real journey for me to show up and be me. I have struggled with perfectionism for a long time. I get really nervous before I do these Google Hangouts. I mean, if you knew the mind trash that was going on in between my ears before this whole thing started, you would be so totally astounded. But one of the things that I've really gotten present to most recently, in the last year in particular, is I am quirky. I'm not easily duplicated. But the more me that I am, the more forthcoming, the more straightforward, the more of me that I allow myself to show up, the more the right people find me and feel good about doing business with me. And if I had any piece of advice, regardless, separate and distinct from joint ventures or anything else, find a way to be the best you that you can be without apology as soon as possible. Because I'm not apologizing for being quirky. I'm not apologizing for being introverted and getting nervous before I do it in Google Hangout. If I can grow my list to 5 figures and grow my income to multiple 6 by being this way, maybe I can be a light for people who are also like me, who are looking for a leader. We all have people that we can serve. Let's serve them in our own best way, with no ick factor, with heart and spirit. And let's be able to say no to things that aren't right for us, because for whatever reason, it's not right for us. That's okay too. But be you, be me. That's been my big thing, is that the more me I've become, the better my business has grown. And it takes courage to be whoever we are, because that means revealing our foibles and our missing pieces and the things about us that people think are weird. But it is what it is, and that's got to be okay. If the glove fits, you commit. If the glove does not fit, you don't.
That's perfect. Well, Nancy, it's funny because I'd love to get into more of some of the mistakes you made, but you've got a gift that we can do that.
I have one. Can I make one more
Please,
suggestion?
Absolutely.
This is sort of a cautionary tale from the trenches that reinforces a really important thing that I believe in, that you should see the person first before you make judgments about their list, their success, or what they have to offer. And I'm going to use an example from my husband. My husband, Steve Juetten, is a certified financial planner professional, and he helps high net worth individuals manage their money so they have more time to do what it is that they love. He's a fee-only planner, and that means that he has their back. He doesn't get paid commissions or anything like that. So he's a person of influence who has like 400 people in his newsletter community who are high net worth individuals who have money to invest in important things. Well, we were at a networking event that was about JVs, and there was another money person there who was attending, and she knew who I was because I'm kind of visible in the marketplace, but my husband is not. So I said, oh, so-and-so, I'd love to introduce you to my husband, Steve. Oh, what do you do? I'm a certified financial planner. Oh, and how big is your list? She says. And my husband was like, what? Is that how we're having a conversation? He was like flummoxed completely. But this woman missed a huge opportunity, because if she had asked a different question, who are you serving and how are you helping? And where are the missing pieces? And how might we find a way to journey forward together? The conversation could have been really fantastic, because she would have found that he would have been a great advocate for her if he had found her to be a fit for him. But the fact that she started with, and how big is your list, it just sort of let him know that she was sort of one-dimensional in her approach, and she missed out on a huge opportunity for probably the best joint venture in the room. So see the person first. See who they are. What do they have to offer? How can they make a difference in the world? It's not always about the money. There are other ways to have currency in the world that can be very valuable if you could just keep your eyes open and be willing to see them. So that's my cautionary tale. See the people first. That's really foundational for me. I believe everyone should be seen, heard, celebrated, and compensated for the uniqueness that they bring. And you know what? I really feel that is what calls me to do this work, because I want to feel that way too.
That's such a beautiful end piece for all that we're talking about, because again, I was talking about how influence, and one of the things I think one of your gifts again is helping people feel seen and heard, and that makes them want to follow whatever advice you offer.
Well, if that's the impact I'm making, then that does my heart good, because I sleep very well at night.
I'm sure.
You know?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I would love to have another conversation on, perhaps we can have a whole nother call just on the idea of people who might be uncomfortable with the whole JV model as it is now, because one of the things is that although you're very successful at the current paradigm with marketing, you're also completely heart-centered. You don't support anybody who you don't know, like, and trust, and you haven't tried their products and all that stuff. But just the whole idea of the joint venture marketing feels very, very overwhelming to a lot of people. And you break it down and make it very simple, very, very, very heart-centered. It's not about money. Anybody who's been listening to this conversation can see who you are. And by being a part of your community, they're going to learn a lot more, because you're sharing a lot more information about how to do JVs.
Could I make one? Do I have a comment from?
Absolutely.
One more comment?
Yeah, as many as you want.
You know, when earlier I was saying that it takes courage to be me, I've been really summoning up courage to be a stand for a way to do joint ventures that feels aligned, true, and fun, where we don't have to play a game that we don't want to play, and that it's all right and still functioning and fabulous. And it takes a lot of courage for me to say that, but I want to be a stand for that. There are A-list celebrities in Hollywood. There are B, C, and D celebrities in Hollywood. Well, if I self-identify with being on the B list, I'm still very proud of myself. But there's a whole bunch of people on the B list who I think are awesome. And so for many of us, one of the biggest mistakes is we aim too high and we get into an ocean that's not the right body of water for us at any given time. So be careful how high up you go, because they're playing a totally different game at the A level. The B level, we have an opportunity to create a whole different game where we're standing in and on the value, and we're not overdosing on bonus bundles at cart close, and we're not giving away the store and a bag of chips besides every other day. I just think there's another way to approach this that can feel right and true, where you don't have to feel like you're outclassed out of the box. And that takes a lot of courage for me to speak up and say, but I want to be a stand for that, because you know, when you go to Nordstrom and you buy a dress and you want shoes and a purse to go with it, there's someone there that will help you get those items, and you will pay for them in exchange for the service. I want us to be a stand for the value that we've created in our programs, and I don't want us to throw everything in but the kitchen sink and a bag of chips besides to overwhelm the consumer. I don't think that's in service to the consumer. I think we need to balance things out a little bit more, and I want to be a stand for that.
Well, you certainly are, and again, I'm just really grateful for the work that you're doing and how you're showing up in the world, and really just modeling for everyone else a path to follow. And you've shared so much of that path with us. Again, I hope everybody has downloaded their gift right below. And again, if you're listening, it's inspiredmensengersnetwork.com/JV to get Nancy Juetten's gift.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, absolutely. It's been really, really fun. I'm just so grateful again to be in relationship with you. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
You really can build a reliable bridge to revenue, even if your products, programs, and services are not done or perfect and your list is small. And if you want to do that, I'm your gal. Get in touch with me. You'll be so glad you did. It's been a pleasure to meet you today. Thanks for having me. Quirks and all.
So wonderful. Thank you, Nancy. And I just want to say thank you to you, Nancy, and to everyone who's watching here. Thank you for investing in yourself and for being out there sharing your message. You truly are a brilliant light in the world. Keep shining brightly. Namaste.